Again, and welcome to the program. Now, hundreds of people have taken to the streets of Accra to protest what they describe as creeping ethnocentrism. The demonstration follows comments alleged to have been made by former Finance Minister Yaw Mafo. Joint News reporter Derek Akosam is with the demonstrators and now joined. He's joined us over the telephone. My understanding is that that line has dropped. But what we know is that the demonstrators have converged at the Hearts Park, where leaders of the group will be addressing partakers in this particular march. Well, I understand we have Derek Akosam now, and we'll go briefly to him for an update on this. Hello, Derek. Hello, Derek. Well, we do not have Derek at the moment. We can look at other stories and take a trip to Sekondi Takoradi, where drivers in the area are on a sit-down strike. The strike left hundreds of commuters stranded at various bus terminals across the city. The drivers say they will continue the action until the law on compulsory seatbelts in commercial vehicles is repealed. Francis Waja is our correspondent in the Twin City and now joins us live. Thanks for joining us here, Francis. Hello, Francis. Hello, Francis.
Yeah, hi.
What's the latest on the strike?
Well, the latest is that the drivers have now resumed at the various bus terminals that I visited. I could see that the cars are parked. There are passengers in them. Some also have passengers boarding them. I spoke to some of the branch executives who tell me that they had a call from the national level that there are talks ongoing now with the DVLA to resolve that impasse, and so they should go back to work and that they will not be harassed by the police over the seatbelt issue. So as I speak to you, everything has now returned to normal and the truck drivers or the minibuses are working.
I see. Do we know why exactly they called off the strike?
Well, they were not specific as to exactly what has gone into the decision for them to call off the strike, but what I understand is that they are talking to the DVLA as to whether that directive will be withdrawn, whether it will be loosened a bit. I have no idea, but what I can confirm is that the DVLA leadership is in meeting with the drivers, the leadership of the drivers to resolve it.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Francis. Francis Waja is our correspondent in the Twin City. Meanwhile, Chief Executive Officer of the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority, Rudolph Berkeley, says the deadline for the implementation of the law on seatbelts has been extended to June. He cautioned no one has the right to deny certification of vehicles before the deadline.
That's the legislative instrument 2180 that was passed by Parliament in 2012. And in regulation 119 and 120 talked about the fact that every motor vehicle we deliver onto the roads through registration or roadworthy assessment must be fitted in the front and rear with seatbelts covering all the seats. So last year there was a policy directive that any new motor vehicle that is coming into the vehicle new without seatbelts will not be registered, and that is being complied with. The second phase of the policy, which is targeting vehicles that are currently in the system and that do not have seatbelts, has a deadline of June 2015, by which time seatbelts will be ready and available to be fitted on seatbelts, not in March. So we have a deadline of June 2015. The reason we gave a deadline of June 2015 was that we listened to the operators of public transport, especially GPRD, where they came up with a lot of concerns. So in order to address the concern, we needed to extend the deadline from March to June. So originally, the deadline for the fitting of the seatbelts was in March. But then because of the concerns they raised, we needed to extend it to June to address their concerns. So currently, we are working towards June 2015 to be able to get the seatbelts in place, to be able to train people to fit the seatbelts in vehicles that do not have. As I speak with you now, there has not been any directive in the Takoradi metropolis in turning vehicles away.
Hundreds of people have taken to the streets of Accra to protest what they describe as creeping ethnocentrism. The demonstration follows comments alleged to have been made by former Finance Minister Yalsafo Mafo. Joy News' Derek Akosam is with the demonstrators. He's now joined us with some live updates. Hello, Derek. Hello, Derek. Hello, what's happening now, Derek?
Well, we have converged at the hashback to listen to speeches from some of the people who took part in the peace walk by Codex. Not too long ago, Hassan Ariga, former flag bearer of the CNC, also spoke. And now speaking is the only independent candidate for the 20 election. Jacob Osende joined. He's also speaking, and therefore, in one way or the other, condemn tribal politics. They are saying that we shouldn't allow tribal politics to speak into us as a people because it is divisive and it will disturb us as a country. So basically, that is what is going on here at the hashback. The final point of the was organized by the Coalition of Defense for Equal Citizenship.
Earlier, we had a bit of confusion broke out. Can you enlighten us on that?
Hello, Kamini.
I'm asking that you shed some more light on the confusion that was said to have broken out earlier in the match.
Well, if you could speak louder, I would be very glad. I'm in a very noisy environment.
I'm saying that we understand that a bit of confusion broke out there. What do you know about it?
Well, from where I was, I didn't see anything like that happen. The people on the march stuck to the route. They decided to use through Acropolis and then to the hashback, and that is the particular route that has been used ever since I started following those on the peace walk today.
I see. Thank you very much for the updates. Derek Ekosam joined us from the hashback where members or a group of Ghanaians who are demonstrating over some ethnocentrism have converged for some speeches. Now, some leading members of the opposition New Patriotic Party have criticized the NDC for funding the One Ghana demonstration. Member of Parliament for Ablekuma West, Esla Usu, told Joy News members of the NPP who tried joining the demonstration were obstructed.
Anything which seeks to divide this country is wrong and should be condemned in forceful terms by everybody. We know the power of ethnic and tribal politicking to destroy communities and countries. We have several examples on the continent of Africa. We don't want that to happen here. So anything anybody says or does which has the ability or the capability of taking us down that road is something we should all be concerned about. So when we heard that this group, Codec, was calling this demonstration to show that we are all one people with a common destiny, we thought that that was a call we could all join and add our voice to the effort to stop this canker which has the power, ability to destroy this country. But we got there only to realize that apparently it was an NDC-sponsored demonstration and they didn't really want other people to join them. Several of our placards were destroyed. Some were beaten with sticks. The police stood by, and eventually the youth organizer of the NDC had to come and join us and keep his people at bay. And I was like, was it a real call for all to join hands to fight against tribalism, or it was just an NDC-sponsored demonstration?
How do you know it's an NDC-sponsored demonstration?
We saw people singing and dancing with MPP colors, taunting us. They were taunting us once they realized that we were from the NPP, openly. Some of them, one of them actually tried to take my placard away from me and give me another one. And I said, this is significant because I am an Akan. I went to encourage Akans who were being prevented from registering in Ododiodio. I went to encourage them to register, and I was beaten up in Ododiodio. And some leaders of the MPP, NDC even said I did not have a visa to be there. I didn't realize that we had come to the point where you need a visa to visit other parts of this country. So I sent this clear message that they should not repeat Ododiodio. If the MPP does it and they think it is wrong, it is equally wrong when any member of the NDC also does it, especially the President of the Republic of Ghana, who can go and stand in the north and tell them to vote for him because he's a northerner. That was the most divisive statement anybody could have made.
Imagine a situation where you're locked up in prison with your fate in the balance over a crime you possibly did not commit. The plight of remand prisoners is a situation many dread. Joy News' Seth Kwame Boateng has been investigating the harrowing conditions in Ghanaian prisons and produced a documentary titled Locked and Forgotten. Here's an excerpt of that.
Minimia and Netty. Into one of Libya and Libyan to connect the buyer, into what in the chain. Into Miss Yesto, into Miss Solano Panam, Miss Mukakofa, and Yama. Into Mukofan, Mammy buy now, Musu Biokuda, Pine Chain, to Miss Minimin in Hubi. I don't buy no much in the Midday or Muchin. I told Muchin of the Miko police station. No medical to Tadiation of Better Manuasem, Tadiation of the Miko courts, and a more man them that was.
A criminal defendant has the right to a lawyer at any stage of the criminal process, interrogation, trial, and sentencing. But Mohammed Abdullahi has not had the services of a lawyer since he was arrested 3 years ago.
So you'll be discovered and the one to Mammy Sukakra way and over the share and
I was home when some police officers came and requested I go with them to report myself, whether I know something about the case or not. When we got to the police station, they put me at counterback and suggested I stay there till evening for my own safety. They later put me in the cells in the evening and took me to court the next day. In the courtroom, they didn't ask me anything and straight away remanded me. For about 1.5 years, I was on remand until my father used his cocoa farm as a collateral for my bail.
What did the remand say?
It's painful and humiliating leaving her 3 children behind for no one to take care of. With the youngest being only 7 months old and still breastfeeding, her breasts were heavy with milk, on her chest heavy with grief. Her heart desire when she was granted bail was to see her children again after over a year.
We'll stay on the subject. Human rights lawyer Francis Xavier says the large numbers of Ghanaian remand prisoners should largely be blamed on the inefficiencies of the police. According to him, state prosecutors are unable to pursue cases of those on remand because they lack evidence.
There have been quite a number of cases where state prosecutors have failed. And sometimes it is so difficult to blame the state prosecutor, particularly when they rely on evidence that must be produced by the investigative machinery of the police service. So you see, state prosecutors come to court, they want to go on, but investigators have not finished their investigations. They want to go on, but witnesses are not available. So then it becomes quite difficult to lay the entire blame on state prosecutors because you would realize that their work is dependent on the work of these investigators. So if there will be some blame, I would always put that blame on the police investigators. You see, because in the first place, they determine whether or not the person must be arrested based on the evidence before them. But they always wrongly or wrongfully exercise that discretion to arrest. Because in the first place, when you look at the facts before them, they do not have any business arresting the person in the first place. In the second place, you look at the facts before them, they do not have any business charging that person. Look, I am from here.
So to suggest that anyone who is wrongfully jailed on remand should sue the state.
Person is arrested. The law says that the person must be arrested upon reasonable suspicion. There are many times where arrests are unlawful. Why? Because the suspicion are unreasonable. And why are they unreasonable? They are unreasonable because investigators are unable to properly interrogate the facts to be able to establish, reasonability in that arrest. So merely hearing or suspecting that somebody has done a particular offense does not mean that by all means it is the person who committed that offense. So when it turns out that the prosecution is unable to make out their case, or they are unable to actually carry out their prosecution, and the holding up of the person in those remand cells have unduly affected them, their businesses, their children, their families, those people have a right to go to court to seek for compensation against the state and against those officers.
You're watching Joy News today. There's more to come. Don't go away. Ashanti Regional Minister Samuel K. Sapon and his deputy have been relieved of their duties with immediate effect. It is unclear yet what influenced President John Mahama's decision, but it is believed some internal party wranglings and rifts could have led to this. Where they forced out, Evans Mensah is with our political desk and has followed keenly this development and shares his findings. What's been your analysis of all of this?
The Ashanti Regional Minister and the Deputy they have succeeded in creating factions, and these factions have already begun some, disturbances that had led to what has happened, a day ago. And the President obviously isn't happy with what is happening. In fact, I'm told, my sources in Kumasi tell me that there was a meeting in which it got so bad that the two of them had to be separated at some point. That is how bad it got. And the Chief of Staff, who fortunately had been there not too long, didn't have any problem at all taking this decision, because it was very obvious that they had to get these two gentlemen out of the way to get the Ashanti regional agenda of winning 1 million votes in 2016 back on track.
Looking at what is happening in the party, the internal wranglings, do we know what could be contributing to the internal wranglings that have led to the sacking that could have led to the sacking of these two?
Well, the thing is, what I've heard my sources say is that before these recent disturbances and the feud, the two of them went quite perfectly until allegations surfaced that Mr. Yamin, the deputy, allegedly had some dealings with some illegal miners, galamseyers, so to speak. And Mr. Sapon, the minister, had a tough line when it comes to that. And that, I understand, had led to a certain breakdown in relationship. And most people put their finger on that as the genesis of all this infighting that we saw, pitching the deputy minister against his minister. And that has led to that. But also, the party going forward into the 2016 election is making Ashanti region one of their key constituencies when it comes to winning votes. In fact, they said that they want to win 1 million votes in the region. That is only a stronghold. And there's a lot of focus, a lot of money, a lot of attention that is being pumped into the Ashanti region. And so it's become an issue of which of these two should spearhead that agenda. And that also led to this confusion that we've seen leading to their dismissal. Essentially, that's what it is. They've been sacked.
From our Ashanti regional correspondent, Erastus Asare Donko. Hello, Erastus. Hello, Erastus. You've been interacting with some party members in the Ashanti region. What have you picked up so far?
I agree to the president's directive to take the two of their positions. In fact, many of them are telling me that it is the right stage in time to save 9 because they believe this whole inner wrangling have been there for a long time. There have been efforts by the regional executives and the national executives to even resolve this, but so there is a bad blood between them. They cannot manage the affairs of the region. And so it's a timely decision by the president to take them all off and start all over again. What they're calling for is for fresh people with no factionalism in mind and who have no factions on the ground to rule the affairs of the region.
Very well. Moving forward, how do they intend to put the party together in the Ashanti region?
Well, a whole lot of names have come up. I don't know whether we can work with them at the moment, but one that I've been able to try to confirm is the former Deputy Regional Minister, Yawadusai. I do understand he will be coming back to his position. I also picked signals that the Regional Minister position is being lobbied by 2 people. That is one Yawanasi and one Andia Piakubi. Is between the 2, but then other names might pop up. They believe that these people could unify the party. There are other measures that people think could help. The executives are, for example, indicating that the president should keep his ears on the ground. The local government ministry should have his presence more, and the national executives should also hold meetings with the hierarchy of the party here to try to resolve any grievances that exist. Mind you, this runs through down to the regional executives of the NDC. The bad blood runs through to that end. So they will need somebody to really mediate and try to bring calm heads down here.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Erastus, for that update. But national organizer of the NDC, Kofi Adams, is told Joy News the national office of the party had been in the know as far as the internal wranglings at the Kumasi chapter of the NDC is concerned. They are indeed happy about the turnout of events, which is the second of the 2 regional ministers in the Ashanti region. We'll come back to it in a bit, though. But physically challenged persons in the country are unhappy that President John Mahama failed to address their concerns in a State of the Nation address last week. Special schools across the country were closed down last year for lack of funds. This affected the academic work of the physically challenged pupils who sat for the external exams. Advocacy Officer of the Ghana Federation of the Disabled, Isaac Tugun, tells Joy News they feel neglected.
The president last week, gave us the state of the nation. He mentioned almost all the key areas of the economy, health, education, everything. But for you, the physically challenged in society, do you think you had enough space and coverage in the State of the Nation address?
To say it briefly, I would say no. And the reason is that we are not mentioned much in the State of the Nation address. And I think if I zero down to certain areas, that will help us. For example, let's take education. At the time that the State of the Nation address was being presented, the School of the Deaf in Eastern region was in darkness. This electricity company disconnected them at that time that the statement was being presented. But we did not hear anything concerning this special school. And in 2014, we were all witnesses when other schools reopened and the special school were still at home because there was no funding for them to reopen. And the students were going to write the same examination. So we were expecting that touching on education, the president was going to actually say how education was going to be made accessible to persons with disability. For example, we talk about distribution of 30,000 laptops, textbooks, homemade sandals, 1,000 of them, 10,000 of them, and so on. But we didn't hear anything like the provision of assistive technology for the visually impaired to also participate in education. We did not hear anything like making the educational facility accessible for children with disability to also participate in education. We did not also hear about training of resource teachers like sign language interpreter to enable the deaf participate in the education. So all that he talked about was education meant for other people, but nothing was mentioned about person with disability in that regard.
The intensive care unit of the surgical department of the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital is on the verge of collapse. The unit is heavily owed by patients. Families failed to pay the cost of treatment after patient passed away. Medical Director of Korle Bu, Dr. Samuel Esiama, says public support is required to sustain the intensive care unit. Joy News' Kwete Nati has been following the story and he's here with me in the studio to shed some light on this situation. Kwete, you've been following this. How did we get to this point where we're on the verge of collapse?
Kamini, the reason is that most of the patients are placed in the ICU because they are critically ill. There's a state whereby the patient is in a life and death situation. But often when they pass on, their relatives fail to pay the cost. It's very expensive running the ICU. For example, the machine that supplies oxygen to the brain, it costs you 1,000 Ghana cedis to be on that machine a day. And recently I understand that 3 patients, about 3 of them lost their lives. And each one was owing 35,000 Ghana cedis. And their relatives have not made any effort to settle these debts. And this has been ongoing since 2013.
Since 2013?
Yes, and you are looking at hundreds of thousands of cedis.
I see. So tell us how this could be affecting the running of the ICU at the surgical department.
Currently, you have most ICUs at Korle Bu ill-equipped, and it's expensive running these ICUs. So if people are not paying, the authorities are more or less reluctant to equip this ICU. I had the opportunity of being at the ICU of the emergency center, and there was only one cardiac monitor over there, and patients were struggling to recover. So that's what some of the health officials told me.
But do we know why these patients fail to pay their bills?
It's very expensive. You have a ventilator on you and you pay 1,000 Ghana cedis a day. So if you're on it for 3 months, you can imagine the monies you would be paying. And if the relative passes by, what's the motivation to pay? I wouldn't.
Basically, because you have lost that loved one even. But what have your sources been telling you as far as the hospital's bid to want to reverse the situation is concerned?
I'm being told that sooner or later, the hospital would have to charge everyone that would be seeking services there
upfront?
A certain amount of money.
Some sort of a...
Whether you need ICU services or not, once you visit Korle Bu, you'll be charged a certain amount of money to enable them sustain the ICU. Other than that, it would collapse.
Explain this token. Everybody who visits the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital or just the surgical department?
Everyone that visits Korle Bu.
So some sort of a levy. Is that what it could be?
Yes, we could call it so.
I see. And they're hoping to raise money from this to be able to handle surgical procedures at the department?
That is the only window of hope. That's what I was able to gather. Other than that, maintaining the ICU, the staff and the equipment over there would be no more.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Kwete, for bringing this to light. We'll bring you more on this story in subsequent broadcasts. The Public Relations Officer for the Ministry of Health, Tony Goodman, attributed the sacking of the hijab-wearing nurse at the Mamobi Polyclinic to poor communication. Goodman tells Joy News the bureaucracy at the Ghana Health Service may have curtailed the movement of a communique released this week to direct all health facilities and schools to respect the wearing of hijabs by Muslims. Subsequently, the Health Ministry is investigating this issue. He denied any sanctions have been taken against the authorities of the Mamobi Polyclinic. What step have you taken as far as this case is concerned?
No, we are making sure that all facilities get this communication as quickly as possible. What really happened is that the communication went, but it's still in the system to get to the facilities. But most of our agencies have received copies of this communique from the ministry.
This communique,
so yeah,
exactly what is in this communique?
Yeah, I have a copy in front of me where you're saying that do not force Muslims to take off their hijabs at work and in schools.
Let's narrow it down on the issue of, on the Mamobi Polyclinic saga, or the Mamobi Polyclinic issue. What action, what steps will the Ministry of Health take in this regard? What are we looking at you doing?
So we are making sure that there is some harmony there. They work in harmony. They try to, as it were, talk to each other to understand where we are now. It used to not be the case in the past. Now we've moved away from a phase. This is where we are. We have to accept each other. We have to tolerate each other. They did not get this community. Now they've had it. Their bosses are making sure that copies are sent to the various hospitals in the country.
Latif Idrisu is a man on the beaches at the Mamobi Polyclinic and joins us now with an update. Hello, Latif. We lost Latif Idrisu there, but in a bit he should tell us the atmosphere at the hospital after the story broke of a nurse wearing hijab, or a hijab wearing nurse who was sent home when she went to work. There's more to come here. Don't go away. It's time for sports here on Joy News today. Baba Tando has joined me in the studio. Hello, Baba.
Hi, Kennedy. Have you been to Turkey before?
No, I don't even know where.
All right, join me. I'll
take
you on a trip to Turkey in the next few seconds.
What are we gonna do?
Okay, we're talking the Black Satellites, and they are in Turkey.
Oh yeah.
Right, and Ghana's under-20 team, the Black Satellites, are currently wrapping up their training camp in Antalya, Turkey, ahead of the Africa Youth Championship, which starts on Sunday in Senegal. The Black Satellites played in Iran's under-20 side yesterday. The solar-setted side beat Azerbaijan 2-1 in their first preparation match on Saturday and will leave for Dakar on Thursday. Ghana is in Group B with Zambia, Mali and South Africa, while Congo, Brazzaville, Ivory Coast, Nigeria and host Senegal make up Group A. I've been joined on phone by Vice Chairman of the Satellites Committee, Management Committee, Kingsley Osei-Bonsu. Hello, Kingsley Osei-Bonsu. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
Hi, tell us, what have you been up to? What has the Black Satellites team been up to in Antalya, Turkey?
In the first place, let me make this correction. I'm a management member in charge of the media. I'm not the vice chairman. The vice chairman is Sadibu, Alabi Sadibu.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for that. Thank you. Right, so let us know. So far, you've played against Azerbaijan. You beat them by 2-1. What happened with the Iran under-20 team?
Yeah, it was rather the Danish second division side, not the Iran under-20 team. They were not in a position to honor the match, so we quickly arranged for a match against the Danish second division side by name Ecoping, and it ended by 2-1 in our favor.
Right, so when does the team leave for Dakar?
We'll be leaving tomorrow morning and leave Istanbul around 12 in the morning and get to Dakar in the evening. Then there's a likelihood that we might go by bus to Igbo and get there in the night.
I see. So tell me, so far, has the training camp been good? I mean, how would you rate it?
It's been very splendid because as compared to the performance that they were showing when we were in Ghana, I will conclude by saying that there's been an improvement because when we came here, considering their response to training and other things, based on what they've been expecting, I can conclude by saying that there's an improvement as far as their performance is concerned.
Kingsley Osebonsu, member of the Black Satellites Management Committee, thanks very much for your time this afternoon. And away from the Black Satellites who get ready for the African Youth Championship tournament in Senegal on Sunday, there's another tournament that is coming up, but this time it's in South Africa, and it's the 2015 Elite Power Horse Beach Soccer Tournament. And the Black Sharks of Ghana, that's Ghana's national beach soccer team, they are participating in that particular tournament. I have been joined on, we know very well that the team has been struggling to raise funds to make this tournament possible, or the departure from Ghana to South Africa possible. I have been joined on phone by President of the Ghana Beach Soccer Association, Yao Mpofo-Ankra. Hello, Yao, good afternoon to you.
Hi, good afternoon.
Yao, we know you have $20,000 resting. You needed $32,000 more to make your trip to South Africa later today. Tell me, what's the current situation?
Well, it's about numbers, and it's a bit complicated. What we have is the approval from the Ministry of Youth and Sport. So we have a paper which basically says, yes, we've committed, or we will be committed to making sure that that money is released. But unfortunately, the processes take time, and that means we don't have cash. What we have is a guarantee by the signature of the sports minister. So in essence, we're using that method to actually raise the money. So as I speak to you now, we've gotten tickets for at least half the team, and we're struggling to get the money for the rest. It's quite. It does sound a bit comical, but it is. That's the fact. I mean, that is the reality on the ground, because apparently there's no money available for us immediately. So Carbank, they've done their bit, and they've been fantastic. In fact, we've actually made approaches again for Carbank to go over what they promised us for the calendar year. So, that is what we're working on now. But we're struggling to get the rest of the team tickets to travel this evening to South Africa. Yeah,
you're playing against Nigeria on Friday, I'm told. How is this possible? I mean, you're supposed to get there at least 48 clear hours before you go into your first game. What sort of performance would we be expecting from Ghana then?
Well, I mean, that's a very good question, and it's one that we unfortunately are not looking at now. I think that the immediate target is to get to South Africa, to get to Durban. But thankfully, the players have been in camp. They were in camp for a while. It was delayed, but at least they went into camp for some days. And I think psychologically, they're prepared. They know that, this is what they do. This is their life, or their lives, and this is they have to go out there and make it count. But we also have to ensure that the players do get to South Africa, all of them. But in the absence of failing to get the rest of the cash, then perhaps 8 or 7 players would take the lead with the coach and his assistant and the team doctor, and perhaps one of the officials to South Africa, just to ensure that we go through the championship regulations and formalities. And then the rest hopefully would follow up. So we've not given up, because from day one we were told there was no money, and if we had given up, we wouldn't be here. So we're still fighting to make sure that something happens.
Thank you very much, Yao Mpofo-Ankra, president of the Ghana Beach Soccer Association. And it's very demotivating to hear issues like this, especially if you hear budgets that are approved for Black Stars tournament participation here in Ghana. I mean, aside from donor support and all of that, and the beach soccer team needs just $32,000 to participate in an African championship in South Africa, and till date, they have not been able to raise it. Away from that, the Ghana Football Association has confirmed the newly introduced Elite Cup competition will from next season be a permanent feature on the football calendar. Now, The competition, which is played between Premier League and Division 1 clubs, was aimed at keeping the clubs active during the legal tussle days between the GFA and King Faisal, and also to help them meet FIFA requirements on the number of matches players are to play in a season. FA President Kwesi Nyantakyi confirmed the news to Joy News.
Sponsor as yet. The FA is subsidizing the participation of clubs in the competition, and it's quite expensive. So to that extent, I really share in their concerns. But I want to appeal to the clubs to take a second look at that position, because you have to look at the opportunity that the competition offers your players to showcase their talent, to play against opponents and sharpen their skills, and also market the teams and the players. That has no value you can put to it. Beyond that, you can then look at the costs, and if we do a cost-benefit analysis, the benefits will far outweigh the costs. And we're trying to look for a sponsor so this competition can continue into the future. But we intend to make it a permanent feature of the Ghana Football Association calendar, so you can have more opportunity of matches for your players, because FIFA requires every player to play a certain minimum number of matches. Ghana, we are falling short of that. So the elite competition offers the opportunity for us to play more matches and make our players more competitive on the market.
That's it for sports. My name is Baba Tando. Have a good afternoon.
Well, thanks for staying on the program. The Ashanti Regional Minister Samuel K. Sapon and his deputy have been relieved of their duties with immediate effect. It's unclear yet what influenced President John Mahama's decision, but it's believed some internal party wranglings and rifts could have led to this. On phone now is Kofi Adams, his national organizer for the National Democratic Congress. Thanks for joining us here, Kofi.
Thank you for the opportunity, and good afternoon to your viewers.
Absolutely. Kofi, first of all, how does the party feel about this development?
I think it's not a happy thing to relieve a person of his position, but the party will support the decision of His Excellency at any time, especially in a situation that we found ourselves in Ashanti region. We have in the past as a party tried to solve this feud, if I will call it, between the minister and the party leadership in the region, and also between the minister and other appointees in the region. But it looks like it has not helped matters, and the situation kept growing from bad to worse. And so the decision by His Excellency for us was very timely, was right, and it gives room for some unity of purpose to get back into the body politic of the Ashanti region. A lot of development projects indeed is going on in Ashanti region. Quite recently, the airport have been uplifted to a level where night flights can take place. Water projects are going on in various places. Road projects is going on, health projects, education, and all that. What you need is to get a leadership that will work towards one direction, not to be pulling each other in different ways, to the point of even locking up party offices.
Indeed. A lot of reasons have been bandied about as to what could really be the cause of the rift between the two. What does the party know as being the exact problem between the two of them?
At least what we know now is that they've not been able to work together. Appointees and elected officers have not been able to also work together, and a decision must be taken at a point, and that decision has been taken. And they know within them what exactly it is, and we do also have in briefs that we have received, and we feel that it's a good decision that has been taken.
Now, we can't lose sight of the fact that the two of them would have some following within the party. How would the NDC handle this going forward?
As for the followings that everybody have, the following is also NDC, and the following also want the NDC to succeed. Whatever it is, the NDC is first. The party comes first before the individual follow. It doesn't mean that these two are out of government completely. No, that is not the case. The only thing is that a decision has been taken as far as Ashanti region is concerned. And subsequently, His Excellency the President can decide at any time. Why? The former minister for the region, when government was being formed, was not part of government. But now he's back into government as the health minister. So the fact that you have been asked to step aside now doesn't mean that you are out of government completely. No, it doesn't mean. And the following are also NDC members who want the NDC and government to succeed. So if there is any reason that the president feels we must change your leader or your benefactor, if I want to put it that way, in order for the party to be solid, I believe that they will welcome such a decision.
So, Kofi, what you're telling us now is that the wrangling between the two of them is the reason the president sent both of them home.
No. I've not said so.
It could be.
You're asking me about the party, that what has come out, what are we happy? And I'm saying yes, it will partly solve the problems that the party is facing in the region.
Indeed. Kofi, away from that briefly. Now, at the One Ghana demonstration, or march rather, the NPP has accused the NDC of fueling this particular demonstration against the NPP, really, because some of their members were heckled, and according to Eslo, some were beaten because they joined the demonstration or march. What's your reaction to this?
I saw some persons who came around, and everybody was welcomed because we are demonstrating against irresponsible speech and hate speech, divisive speech. We want to see Ghana as one, and that is what His Excellency the President has been preaching. He wants to make sure that the Ghana he came to meet, the Ghana that was funded for us under Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, will remain same, and not because anybody wants power will want to divide it. That was our focus. And so if anybody came there possibly wanting to further divide us, the person may not find himself in the bed. I did not see anybody being beaten. I also took part as a participant. I heard it and thought that it was a good move because I support the One Ghana project and that we are one people, we are diverse by one, and therefore I joined in the march.
Kofi, we'll leave it here for now. Thank you. Kofi Adams is national organizer for the NDC. The Ghana Police Service, news just coming in. The Ghana Police Service has arrested one more suspect linked to the scandalous police recruitment scam. The Western Regional Police Command is addressing a press conference now. William Benjamin Peters has joined me over the telephone with some detail. Hello, William.
Hello, Kamini.
We understand the police service has made one more arrest. Give us some more detail on that.
Yeah, Kamini, it's quite an unfortunate situation here because the report is that this young man by name Amos Kofi Brown, who is popularly known as Ojam Frama, has just been arrested. And the unfortunate thing is that the guy is a worker of one of the popular radio stations here in the metro called Radio Silver. And the search in his room revealed 16 photocopies of results lists, 4 Ghana Police Service appointment letters and prospectus, 6 birth certificates, list of names of his alleged victims, 1 Ghana Commercial Bank payslip bearing the name of Patrick Eden Timbila, and passport size photographs and some brown envelopes. In all, he has defrauded about 40 people, and all these people he collected 4,000 Ghana cedis from each of suspected victims. So the police has arrested him.
Well, thank you very much, William, for that. We would continue that conversation in subsequent broadcasts. Our top stories: hundreds of Ghanaians Wednesday hit the streets of Accra to protest what they describe as ethnocentrism. Comments are alleged to have been made by some political bigwigs. Thanks for staying on the program. Find more news on myjournal9.com. My name is Kimini Nyamani Amana. Good afternoon.